Hey, where are we? I don't know. Hey, that's Saturn. Right, so we must be on one of its moons. Sandworm! Run!
In this video, I'm going to talk about the symbolism of worms and maggots. Before I go any farther, I want to make clear that by symbolism, I do not mean some superficial meaning humans or society project onto the world through evolutionary biology or any other profaned explanation for patterns that exist at all levels of reality. I am talking about something that is true and recursive, from the insect kingdom to human psychology and even to life forms more evolved than humans and beyond. Worm and maggot imagery appears all across media, almost always representing a lower mode of being. In the Bible, it is said that in hell there are worms and maggots, depending on the translation. For the sake of this discussion, we will assume both are present. In many hellish NDEs, people also report seeing large worms and maggots. I have even encountered a negative entity with the head of a worm in the astral. But what does this mean? Every insect represents something unique, and worms and maggots both represent and embody a crude and not yet matured psyche. Interestingly, psyche was the original Greek word often translated as soul. The two are deeply related. A worm specifically consumes without transmutation. It is not growing into anything higher. It is not bettering itself. It simply consumes. A maggot, like the worm, represents an undeveloped psyche. And I do not mean this in a materialistic sense. I am saying that the soul holds the psyche, which passes over at death. The state of your psyche is therefore, in effect, the state of your soul. But unlike the worm, the maggot consumes while moving towards something new. What kind of insect it eventually transmutes into depends on what kind of maggot it is. In the same way, the kind of psyche you hold determines what you ultimately transmute into, assuming you are conscious and possess the will to transmute or be born again at all. Now let's look at some other insects that appear symbolically throughout media, whether consciously or unconsciously. First, we have the bee. Bees maintain a matrix. On our level, we are all worms and larvae of various kinds. Those of us who eventually transmute into whatever corresponds to the bee will go on to maintain this matrix, just as bees maintain their matrix of honeycombs, which happen to take the form of a two-dimensional cube. The cube is the symbol of the matrix because it is true on all levels, with insects representing the level immediately beneath our own. A matrix provides structure. It applies pressure to the pupa and acts as a crucible, helping it attain the correct form. In the same way, our own cube or matrix symbolism points toward a structure that pressures us into the form necessary to be born again and eventually leave the matrix itself. Next, we have wasps. Wasps maintain messier matrices than bees. They do not produce royal jelly, which is symbolically connected to soma, manna, ambrosia, or whatever form of divine food exists within a given tradition. Wasps are larger and more aggressive than bees and seem to correspond to service to self, demonic or reptilian types of entities, if I had to guess. Another insect that appears frequently is the moth. The moth is attracted to false light. It will fly directly into a flame because its light-sensing organs are not sophisticated enough to distinguish between true and false sources of illumination. This is the fate of those who never develop discernment. Lastly, we have the butterfly. Unlike the moth, the butterfly possesses more sophisticated light-sensing organs and does not confuse one source of light for another. In heavenly NDS, people often report seeing butterflies, and I assure you, it is not simply because they are beautiful. There is much more that could be said. For example, many people report encounters with mantid beings. Mantids are different in that they do not have a larval or pupal stage. Because of this, I predict they are not born again in the same way our kind is. My guess is that their method of evolving the psyche is less flexible than our own, but they maintain continuity of self, unlike insects that undergo metamorphosis and must effectively die in order to be reborn. Anyway, these are some of the things I think about often. Thanks for listening.